Cool. I guess first I wanted to thank the team who organized this. I know I've been waiting for this for probably since 2019 when we were all together in Berlin for Web3 Summit, but this is phenomenal. So thanks to the Hydra team for putting this together, and looking forward to seeing and talking to many of you guys here this week. I'm Dan Reecer from the Acala team. We're going to be talking a little bit about AUSD today. You may have seen us kind of talking about AUSD quite a bit recently, and we're working with a lot of you guys in the room on integrations, but I thought it would be good to just kind of take a step back and maybe go a little bit deeper on AUSD, how it actually works, and things like this. So yeah, like I said, I'm working at Acala now. I've been here for about a year. Wanted to actually make a note. There's some confusion around the teams behind that are actually building Acala. So I actually work for Laminar New Zealand. This is kind of like the parody of Acala. And then we also work with the Polka Wallet team. One of the founders, Fu Yao, is from Shanghai, and the Polka Wallet team is also kind of contributing to the Acala and Karura products. I just wanted to mention that. So as you may know, Acala is a kind of decentralized finance focused parachain. But the whole parachain is kind of built around this AUSD stablecoin that we've built for the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. Today, I hope you kind of walk away with better understanding around how AUSD actually works, things about like how the peg is maintained at $1, how liquidations actually happen behind the scenes. Hopefully, you guys will kind of learn something new today around that. So, wanted to go back a few years to one of the original Substrate hackathons where Betty, Brian, and Rui Tao went and actually met the fourth co-founder there, Fu Yao, and this is kind of where the original idea around AUSD was born. The team realized that AUSD, or a decentralized stablecoin, was kind of a fundamental need for the future of all these parachains on both Polkadot and Kusama, so that is kind of what led to the Acala blockchain being built around AUSD. And kind of a funny picture of Gavin here. This is our lead team. So I mentioned all of these people on the slide here. Most of them, 3 of them are based in Auckland, New Zealand. Brian actually flew 24 hours from Singapore after flying there from New Zealand. So I don't think anyone can beat the 24-hour record at the conference this week. Let me know if you did. So like I said, this is kind of a visual to just represent our goal, kind of our mission over the next 5-10 years is to provide a decentralized stablecoin for all of the dApps and all the parachains that you guys are building or are using. At its core, AUSD is kind of can be categorized in three buckets. So number one, very obvious, it's a decentralized stablecoin. Decentralized is a key word here. This stablecoin is backed by decentralized crypto assets. It's not backed by things like fiat. Number two, very important for the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. So AUSD is actually a liquidity generator. So many of you probably hold DOT or hold KSM and probably want to hold that for years. But AUSD allows you to kind of draw liquidity out of those assets that you can go on and use within all these future applications that are going to be built on Polkadot. And the third thing is AUSD provides dApp developers kind of a gateway up into the fintech world or the banking world through integrations that we're working on at Acala. So starting with number one, so the fact that it's a decentralized stablecoin. So these are kind of the just high-level features of AUSD. So number one, stable. That's kind of fundamental to this. Over-collateralized stablecoins, so similar to other over-collateralized stablecoins you may have seen in the Ethereum world or elsewhere. But later on, I'll kind of explain what we've done with Substrate to innovate on that over-collateralized design. Since I mentioned AUSD was kind of built for the whole Polkadot ecosystem and decided on a few years ago, the team chose the over-collateralized design just for its reliability and safety, because if we're providing a stablecoin to all these dApps and parachains, we need to make sure we're building on something strong. And then I'll skip to the fifth one here, so multi-chain. So recently you may have seen we merged our stablecoin on Karura, KUSD, with AUSD. So there's now one single stablecoin for both Polkadot and Kusama. And very soon with the Wormhole Bridge, these stablecoins will be able to be transferred between both Polkadot and Kusama and also fungible across both Polkadot and Kusama. Second, so this is just an example to elaborate on this concept of AUSD helping you generate liquidity out of your reserve assets like DOT or KSM. So this is actually something I'm really looking forward to as soon as XCM or cross-consensus messaging goes live on Polkadot. So what you'll be able to do is, for example, take your DOT to Acala and stake it. So you're earning 14-ish%, maybe a little bit higher because we choose validators with better, lower commissions. So we're able to increase that APR a little bit. Then you would get this LDOT token, this liquidity for your staked asset. As your asset continues earning, you get this LDOT that you can then go take and open up an AUSD vault. I'll explain a little bit more detail around how that actually works in a second. But as you can see, you put, let's say, 100K in DOT in this AUSD vault, and then if you, let's say you have a 2x collateral ratio or a 200% collateral ratio, you could draw out 50K AUSD to go put it in Aave and earn 8%, for example. So at the bottom here, this is just to kind of illustrate one DOT that used to be just staked and kind of dormant and not doing much on the Polkadot relay chain will now be able to become 2.5 dots, so kind of igniting the economy on Polkadot and getting more kind of activity going across Polkadot and Kusama. And then third, this is an integration that we've been talking about for the last year or so. We will have significant updates this year. We're working with Current in New York, who's a fintech kind of neobank traditionally doing savings products and actually going to make a big move into crypto here soon. But what Current and these this kind of fintech layer that we offer allows Current or any other fintech to plug into the APYs or the returns or yields coming from any dApp built on Acala. So AUSD kind of being the fuel that helps drive these applications on Acala will help bring yield to Web 2 or fintech customers using these apps on their iPhones or their Androids. So wanted to also kind of mention how to actually get AUSD, how to get your hands on it. So one is what we've kind of already talked about is collateralizing assets and then pulling or drawing AUSD liquidity out of that. You can do that with things like DOT, you can do that with KSM, ACA, KAR, and of course LDOT and LKSM are the most kind of efficient ways to do that because you can still continue earning in the staking product. And then that also continues to help secure Polkadot and Kusama because it's staked on-chain. Another thing that's important for the teams here from parachain teams, or even dApp teams for that matter, any asset on Polkadot can actually become a collateral asset that can be used to mint AUSD. You just have to do a few things first to get kind of accepted as a collateral asset. Our goal is to make as many tokens collaterals as possible because that means there's more people that can mint AUSD from different collateral assets. So number one, we're working with many teams on this right now is listing assets paired against AUSD on both the Karura swap side or the Acala swap. Second, as we'll get into in a little bit, the liquidity of the pair with AUSD has to be deep enough to be able to absorb liquidations that happen when price fluctuations were to occur. So let's say for Kintsugi, so for KBTC, which I'm really excited about on the Kusama side, KUSD will be coming to Karura paired with AUSD. And then the goal is to get liquidity deep enough and get it to the point where Gauntlet, our kind of financial risk assessor, will be able to accept it as a collateral for people to mint AUSD. So once it passes an Acala governance vote, KBTC would become a collateral asset on Karura. Oh, let me go back. one thing to mention too, the Wormhole Bridge is coming to Karura very, very soon. Really excited about this. It connects Karura and then soon Acala to all 7 of these layer 1s. So there's going to be a ton of cross-chain assets coming into Karura and Acala. These can also become cross-chain assets once they pass the same 1, 2, 3 steps right here. Another thing for people in the room, Wormhole is not only bringing assets to Acala and Karura, Wormhole is bringing assets to Polkadot and Kusama. So any parachain team here or dApp team who wants access to things like DAI from Ethereum or ETH, come talk to us because we'll help connect you to the team, and we'll be kind of helping bring or import these assets to your parachains as well. Second and third points here, just to continue down getting AUSD. So 2 is kind of obvious, just acquiring that. And number 3, which is kind of a 2-parter, the hackathon going on right now, the prizes are going to be in AUSD, so that's a good way to get your hands on AUSD. And then the other one is a lot of liquidity mining rewards are going to be happening and distributed out in AUSD. So this, I just wanted to paint a little bit of a picture for where this stablecoin is headed and what our vision is for AUSD. So AUSD is being integrated into many dApps at the moment. A lot going on with the Moonriver and Moonbeam team, the A-Star team, and the Shiden side. So hopefully more and more teams will be kind of kicking off their kind of dApp ecosystems, and we'll be right there to work with you guys. This is what 100 parachains looks like on Polkadot. So AUSD integrated into all the dApps on all 100 parachains on Polkadot. And then this is what 200 parachains looks like. This is the kind of theoretical limit for how many parachains can launch on both Polkadot and Kusama. And then, of course, there's all this Polkadot 2.0 stuff that is kind of mind-blowing, but could be will be much more than this down the road. So now it's going to get a little bit more in the weeds and technical. So I'll go kind of slow, but I wanted to just define some of these terms because it's important that, especially everyone here, if you're here, you're obviously kind of deep in the .Sama ecosystem, and I would love for you to leave understanding exactly how AUSD works. So I'll start from number 1. So let's just say that you are holding something like DOT, and you don't want to sell that, but you see that there's a lending market offering 20% for that asset. You take this asset, which is collateral, and go mint AUSD, and the collateral is actually, it's like a guarantee. So you're pulling AUSD out. The protocol holds your collateral as a guarantee that you won't steal that money, essentially. If you don't pay the money back, or if you tried to steal it, there's no third party involved. This is all done and kind of managed by the protocol. But the protocol has the right to sell your assets to cover whatever losses it incurred. So selling is another way to say liquidating. Liquidating, for some reason, it's kind of like a scary word, so I just wanted to say it's just all it is selling. You agree to pay the protocol 3% interest. So within AUSD, it's called a stability fee, but this is just an interest fee you're paying. So 3% interest. So in this case, you think you're going to go earn 20% yield for lending out the AUSD, 3%, so that's 17% APR that you can expect after the interest rate. Number 4, so liquidation ratio. So this is the ratio between the amount of AUSD that you've taken out and the amount of collateral that you have based on the collateral's price. So the liquidation ratio, for example, could be 160%, meaning that if the DOT value drops from $100 to $80, this 15% liquidation fee would actually happen, and the protocol would actually sell 15% as kind of a penalty for you taking that risk and not adjusting your position. So this is what the UI actually looks like today for minting AUSD, and now that I've kind of explained those terms first, let's look at it kind of in reality. So stability fee here, of course, 3%. So it's a 3% interest rate for using DOT to mint AUSD. the required collateral ratio. So let's keep with the DOT example, so 200%. This means that you need 2 times as much collateral as the AUSD that you take out. So if you have $100 of collateral, you could mint $50 of AUSD in this case. Liquidation ratio, so once 160%, so once you reach that level, that liquidation fee will be kind of triggered, which is 15% here, as you can see on the right-hand column. And then once you click that button to start kind of opening up the vault, this is what you'll see. So as you can see here in the upper right, this is the current DOT price, so let's say $18. And then over here on the left, I want to collateralize 1 DOT, so that's exactly $18.69. And then I've kind of put it into the system that I want to take out, or I want to draw out $9.3 worth of AUSD. Follow the arrow down. This is as close as I could get to exactly 200%. So this is what a 200% collateral ratio looks like, $9 of AUSD compared to $18 of DOT. And then this is what it looks like after you've opened up that vault. So in the green here, you've got the current DOT price, so $18.69. And then the blue is actually showing you that liquidation point. So you want to avoid $13.06. As soon as the DOT price would get to $13.06, then that 15% liquidation would happen and the protocol would sell to make up for that price fluctuation in DOT. And then bottom left is just to show you, this is kind of how you can pay back. So you can pay back the loan, or the mint more means if the collateral ratio does drop down to an uncomfortable level, let's say 165%, you can actually add more collateral to increase that ratio back up to kind of a healthy level. So I just wanted to kind of give an example of what this is kind of like. To me, it's kind of similar to where the US dollar used to be minted based on real gold in a vault. We're essentially doing the same thing with collaterals on Polkadot, and you're essentially minting AUSD based on DOT or KSM collaterals. This is I'm sure many of you in the room know this video, but this is a video from when Kusama launched, and one of my favorites of the last few years. All right, so getting close, a couple more sections. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit more detail on how liquidations happen, because it's really interesting once you kind of understand what's going on behind the scenes. So we'll talk about why we need liquidations and how this actually helps maintain the peg, how liquidations actually work on Acala, and then how we maintain the $1 peg. That's a common question that we get. So why do we need to do liquidations, and how do we actually maintain the health of the protocol? In this example, we're still at that 160% liquidation ratio, and I'm just going to walk you through the math here. So we start at $20 DOT, and if the DOT price drops to $16, then your 100K in DOT, the value of that drops from 100K to 80K. Then the 80K collateral that you have compared to the $50,000 loan that you took out is at exactly 160. So you've reached that liquidation ratio, and the liquidation is being triggered. So we're going to walk through what that actually looks like. In this case, it's perfect. Numbers were updated. So the auto sell actually happens. This is liquidation, and the 15%, so it's 15% of the $50,000 loan that you took out. So 7.5K is liquidated, and then the remainder of your DOT is actually returned to you, and your vault is closed. So this is kind of a metaphor I came up with these vaults. So above the water, safe, blue skies, palm trees. Below the water, you've got sharks waiting for you. So you want to avoid going underwater. Liquidations happen in a couple ways on Acala. So number one, Acala swap. So this is the DEX that we built into our chain specifically for this reason. The Acala swap's purpose, the main purpose, is actually to facilitate liquidations in the background. The number two, if there's any developers in the room, we are looking for more people to build liquidation bots, but there's actually bots, these sharks swimming around waiting for liquidations to happen, and they help participate in auctions to actually buy those collaterals that are being liquidated on the market. A third, actually, that isn't on the slide is there's a team called Kujira. We're working with Kujira on doing liquidations, kind of like democratizing liquidations, so enabling people like me who aren't technical to actually participate in those auctions. They're currently working on in the Terra ecosystem, and we're making a lot of progress with them, and it's going to be launched on Karura and Acala. So will be a kind of a cool way for all of us to get involved in the liquidation process if you would like. What actually happens on Acala when these liquidations happen? The preference is to go to the DEX. So this is the DEX column is on the left. The right column is liquidation bots and liquidation auctions. So in the left here, this 7.5K liquidation happens. The DEX shows that there's currently a $16.05 price for DOT. It compares that then to the liquidation bots and the auctions that are happening in the right-hand column. The price being offered, the best price being offered for that collateral on that side is $15.80. So we want to give the best price to the user. So what happens is the protocol actually compares whose price is better for the user. Is it the DEX or is it the liquidation bots? In this case, the DEX has the best price. So we go down that path, we facilitate the liquidation, and the vault is closed. So I mentioned earlier that I would go through a few things that Brian and team did using Substrate to improve on kind of the tried and true over-collateralization model of stablecoins. Number one, the DEX that I mentioned. So having the DEX built into the chain ensures that if there aren't people participating in these auctions, which is how kind of other over-collateralized stablecoins do this, if there either aren't people participating in auctions or if there's a huge event that happens in the market where a bunch of people are coming in and they're wanting to arbitrage and participate in these auctions, that can cause this massive influx and congest the network so that you actually can't get your bids in for those auctions. That is very dangerous if those auctions can't run, so we always have the DEX as a fallback, primary option and a fallback, just in case, so that we know that these liquidations will happen when they need to. On-chain keepers, this is another way of saying liquidation bots. So these bots are on-chain, so there's no kind of third-party risk, API risk involved with these liquidation bots. Third, guaranteed price, Oracle price feeds, kind of an underappreciated aspect of what we've built into Acala. This is basically every block. You need to have price data in every single block, otherwise it'll throw off the protocol kind of on the front end. What we're able to do with this is guarantee a certain portion of the block, I believe it's 20%, a certain portion of the block is guaranteed to inject or take in the Oracle price feed, so this ensures that the DEX and the liquidations will always be tracking the current price of the assets. And then number four, I already mentioned this, the asset or the AUSD, we've been able to make it fungible and natively multi-chain. So these vaults that we've talked about for the last 20 minutes can be opened on Karura on the Kusama side, and they can also be opened on the Polkadot side on Acala, and seamlessly transfer back and forth. This should hopefully help people also understand how do you maintain a peg of a decentralized stablecoin. It's really two ways mostly. So supply and demand is one kind of lever that we have to play with. So if the price is less than $1, that means not enough people are purchasing it. So the demand is down. So how do you increase demand? You can decrease supply by increasing the interest rate to mint the stablecoin. If you increase the interest, less people are going to want to mint it. So this is one lever we have to play with on the protocol side. And then the opposite is true. If the price is greater than $1, that means there's a lot of demand. This likely would happen if there's a market correction in the downward way, where people are kind of exiting into stablecoins. You can decrease the demand by increasing supply. You increase supply by decreasing the interest rate. With a lower interest rate, more people will mint AUSD. So arbitrage. This is the second way. We've talked about the bots. The same thing is true for the stablecoin peg. So with AUSD, we want as many DEXs and centralized exchanges to list AUSD, because the more places people have to arbitrage AUSD, the closer to that $1 peg it will be. So this is the last section. Just a few things to kind of leave you with. So integrations with AUSD. We've got Robbie and Nico here from our business development team. So many of you have probably already met them. If not, feel free to come up to one of them or me. We can talk around how to get some integrations going with your parachain or your DApp. Number two, these, I think, 9 or 10 parachain teams, we've kind of all teamed up on this $250 million AUSD ecosystem fund. This is meant to invest in fundraising rounds for any DApp or parachain on any Polkadot or Kusama parachain. So we're looking to grow the entire AUSD ecosystem, which spans Polkadot and Kusama, through this fund. The other thing that we're doing with teams who are either coming in through the fund or just interested in talking to us is liquidity support. So we've got quite a bit coming very soon on the Moonriver side. I'm working with teams like Moonwell and Zenlink to get liquidity injected, so helping kind of bootstrap these pairs on these markets. This is something we're doing with them, as well as working with a lot of A-Star teams and others. And then last, Acala Foundation grants. So anyone building open source tech that's kind of helping to better the Acala ecosystem can apply for up to $50,000 in funding through the grants. And then last, I'm just going to leave you with the bounties. So now that you know, hopefully know more about AUSD, how it actually works, how we maintain the peg, how liquidations happen, and so on, there's a lot you can do to build with AUSD and kind of contribute to the AUSD ecosystem. So these are the 4 bounties. Brian Chen's giving a talk tomorrow, and then he's also giving a workshop. So if you're interested in building with any of on any of these bounties, definitely come talk to Brian. And that's it. So thanks again to the Hydra team and everyone else who organized this event. This has been very impressive, and thanks everybody for the attention. Have a great week.